Welcome to the intriguing world of Hollywood, where dreams are made and just as easily shattered. Today, we're unveiling the earth-shattering stories behind some of the most infamous downfalls. From career-ending mistakes to personal scandals that shook the industry, you won't believe the hidden footage we've uncovered. Stick around because the journey from fame to infamy is often swifter than anyone could expect, and you'll never guess who claimed the top spot in our countdown. It's a name no one could have predicted. Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin was once the brighter star in the world of comedy, mainly during the 1990s. Sharp, edgy humor, which turned out to capture attention, made her notable for stand-up shows and her show Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List, that earned her an Emmy. Griffin wasn't afraid to push boundaries, a fearlessness that had her become endearing to a very strong fan base. By 2017, she was still enjoying a level of success that any comedian would covet. Then came the photo, one picture that would alter her life permanently. In May 2017, Griffin posed for a photograph holding a fake severed head that resembled then-President Donald Trump. It was to be a political statement, something provocative and, in her mind, on brand. What followed was an instant firestorm. Criticism tumbled in from both sides of the political aisle. Even some of Trump's harshest critics expressed disapproval. Griffin's attempt at dark satire quickly spiraled into a career-crippling disaster. Social media went into an uproar. Major news outlets took to condemning the image, and Griffin found herself public enemy number one. The fallout was swift. Griffin lost endorsement deals, her comedy tour was canceled, and she got fired from her gig at CNN, where she'd been hosting the network's New Year's Eve special for years. Sponsors pulled out, venues refused booking her, and even some of her celebrity friends joined in, distancing themselves from the comedian. This image crossed a line that few, if anybody, could perceive an ability to recover from. Despite issuing several apologies, Griffin's career never quite recovered. The backlash was relentless. In one day, she went from beloved, boundary-pushing comedian to an industry pariah. The many attempts she made at relaunching her career with new material and projects never seemed to gain the momentum they once did. A photo intended to be provocative and edgy, just like her topical, instead turned into a symbol of career suicide in Hollywood. Yet, as shall be realized, Griffin is not the only one who falls from grace so spectacularly. Katherine Hegel. Too big for Hollywood. Oh, remember Dr. Izzy Stevens on Grey's Anatomy? Katherine Hegel was the golden girl of Hollywood during the mid-2000s. She was this young, promising actress who was just supposed to be a sure thing in superstardom. She had the looks, the talent, and the big projects lined up. Having just won an Emmy for her turn on Grey's Anatomy and taking leading roles in hot movies like Knocked Up, Hegel's future in Hollywood seemed unbeatable. But behind the scenes, the story was quite different. In 2007, Hegel began to make headlines, but not for acting this time. Rather, it was because of some unpopular comments on her part. She called Knocked Up, the film that really set her as a star, sexist, saying it made women uptight and men out to be likable idiots. Some here and there might have enjoyed the honesty, but this public criticism went over like a lead balloon with many in Hollywood. Most notably those who worked on the aforementioned film. But the most infamous move came in 2008, when Hegel pulled her name out of Emmy consideration for Grey's Anatomy, saying material given to her wasn't good enough to garner a nomination. Throwing her own show's writers under the bus, this act created waves in the industry. Reports of diva-like behavior started circulating. Whispers that Hegel was difficult to work with began to emerge. By 2010, she was written off Grey's Anatomy, her film offers dried up, and she found herself blacklisted by much of the industry. Later, attempts to revive her career with a spate of romantic comedies and television did not quite work out. Except for a few minor roles here and there, Hegel has never been able to regain her former glory. So, what did go wrong? Was it her outspoken nature, her alleged difficult personality? Or was Hollywood simply not willing to forgive her? Either way, Katherine Hegel went from one of Hollywood's brightest rising stars to someone many studios were unwilling to touch. And as shocking as her fall was, believe it or not, there's someone who fell from even greater heights. Next, we'll uncover one of the most controversial figures of all time. R. Kelly, musical icon turned criminal. R. Kelly's story is one of the most devastating falls from grace that the music world has ever experienced. A force in the R&B scene, Kelly rose to fame during the 1990s with hits such as I Believe I Can Fly and Ignition remix. The upward momentum of his career seemed unstoppable, with platinum albums, Grammy Awards, and a throng of eager fans. But beneath all the glitz and glamour, there were darker rumors of inappropriate behavior and abuse that would finally result in the shocking downfall of the great man. The scandalous allegations by Kelly actually began in the 1990s, though it only came to the full spotlight after the release of the 2019 documentary Surviving R. Kelly. The 6-part series featured women who claimed they were groomed, abused, and even held captive by the singer. The charges range from sexual misconduct all the way to trafficking, and paint a haunting picture of a man who utilized his celebrity status to mistreat underage girls. It sent shockwaves around the world and catalyzed accountability movements for Kelly. In 2019, Kelly was charged with several federal counts: the production of child pornography, kidnapping, and the sexual exploitation of a child. His whole world came crumbling down. The disgusting details just kept unfolding as the court did its work. Kelly's once loyal followers distanced themselves from him. His music was pulled from streaming platforms, and his name became synonymous with disgrace. He had become one of the most influential musicians of his time to one of its most reviled criminals. The fall of R. Kelly wasn't an issue of career loss, but of systemic abuse of power against susceptible young women. What was once considered a brilliant musician, a legacy now has an irreparable taint of horrific crimes committed. How does such an influential star fall so low? And could the industry have stopped this before it was able to get so out of hand? As sad as the story of R. Kelly has remained one of the most atrocious in entertainment history, he was not the only giant to fall. Next, we shall dive into another favorite whose fall equaled in astonishment: Louis C.K., the comedic giant's collapse. Louis C.K. was a giant in the world of comedy. His raw, self-deprecating humor resonated with millions, and he was hailed as one of the funniest, most innovative comedians of his generation. His TV show Louis was critically acclaimed, while his stand-up specials drew in huge crowds. But in 2017, at the height of his career, Louis C.K.'s name became embroiled in the growing #MeToo movement. Several women came forward, accusing Louis of sexual misconduct, saying he had exposed himself to them without their consent. What was even more surprising was Louis's response. Unlike many of the men accused in Hollywood, he admitted to the allegations, releasing a public statement in which he acknowledged the pain he'd caused. But the damage was done. Consequences came in the form of his shows being axed, Netflix deals being scraped, and he was effectively blacklisted from the entertainment world. Louis C.K. attempted to make a comeback in 2020 with a self-financed stand-up special, but the reaction was decidedly mixed. While many praised him for owning up to his misdeeds, the others did not feel that he was allowed to continue his career at all after that scandal. His once untouchable reputation had been irrevocably harmed. Louis C.K. S. fall was the moment of losing gigs and a complete erosion of trust and respect in the comedy world. With these giants falling, it gets you thinking, does anyone not get punished for their misdeeds in Hollywood? But nothing could have prepared the world for the fall of this next beloved figure. What started off as a simple controversy blew out of proportion into an irreversible disaster. J.K. Rowling, from literary hero to outcast. J.K. Rowling was once considered untouchable. The creator of the Harry Potter universe, she was celebrated as one of the greatest literary minds of her generation. The Harry Potter series wasn't just a set of books. It became a cultural phenomenon, spawning movies, theme parks, merchandise, and a devoted global fan base. For years, Rowling's legacy was secure. But all of that began to unravel in 2020, when Rowling made a series of controversial statements regarding transgender issues. It began with a tweet. Rowling expressed support for a woman who had lost her job after making anti-transgender comments. From there, Rowling continued to make statements that many perceived as transphobic. She argued that biological sex is a fundamental concept, and while she claimed to support transgender individuals, her comments were widely criticized as harmful to the trans community. Fans were stunned. The woman who had created a magical world filled with themes of love, acceptance, and tolerance was now at the center of a heated cultural debate. The backlash was swift and fierce. Fans took to social media to express their disappointment, and some even burned their Harry Potter books in protest. Celebrities, including many of the actors from the Harry Potter films, publicly condemned Rowling's views. What was once a universally beloved figure was now a divisive figure, with many fans vowing to boycott her future works. Rowling's legacy, which once seemed unshakable, now lies in tatters. While her books will always hold a special place in the hearts of millions, her public persona has been forever damaged. Despite her attempts to clarify her position, the damage had already been done. For Rowling, the fall wasn't just a hit to her career, it was a seismic shift in how the world perceived her. And yet, as shocking as Rowling's fall was, it pales in comparison to the spectacular collapse of another entertainment legend, Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr. Once upon a time, Roseanne Barr was one of America's favorite sitcom stars. The show Roseanne, upon creation, was quite groundbreaking in the late 80s and early 90s because it centered on the lives of a working-class family. Funny, relatable, and above all endearing, Barr had portrayed the titular character to catapult into household name status. Finally, when the show came back in 2018, it was an instant success. It was like Barr's full-circle moment. But then it all came down to one fateful tweet. In May 2018, Barr went on Twitter and made a racist remark about Valerie Jarrett, a former advisor to President Obama. It likened her to an ape. The tweet came amid immediate outrage. The backlash was swift, and within hours, ABC axed Roseanne. Attempts at apologizing and explaining what had happened were almost too little, too late. Her career had just been revived, and now it lay in tatters. It wasn't that the scandal ended Barr's career. It really tainted her legacy. In a split second, she went from being America's favorite sitcom star to a symbol of racial insensitivity and poor judgment. She tried to defend herself, partial to blaming the tweet on medication and misbegotten intentions, but little in the way of explanations did something to repair her image. Barr's was a swift and brutal tumble from grace, reminding us that in today's social media-run world, one misstep can end a career in its tracks. Her case, just like that of J.K. Rowling, proves how fragile fame can be. But what happens when that mask cracks and reveals an ugly truth from a beloved figure? Stick with me to hear the story of a once kind-hearted star that left the world speechless. Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres. Just the mention of her name used to make people smile. After all, who did not just love the Queen of Kindness, right? With her classic dance moves, relatable humor, and endless giving, she became America's sweetheart. However, behind that infectious laugh, it seems, was a storm brewing. Be kind to one another wasn't just her catchphrase, it was her brand. But what if I told you it was quite the opposite of the truth? Then, in 2020, the dams finally burst, and former employees spoke of a toxic work environment on the Ellen DeGeneres show. Everything from microaggressions to full-blown hostility was said to have occurred. For a woman whose whole career was built on kindness, this was the ultimate irony. The allegations painted Ellen in a completely different light, one not as bright after all. Former employees called the workplace hostile, full of fear, and the smiling persona that viewers loved began to crack with the weight of the accusations. But Ellen didn't take this lying down. She publicly apologized, addressing those claims on air. Nevertheless, it was too late. The ratings tanked, the celebrities kept away, and Ellen's once untouchable throne wobbled. What can be more ironic than a queen of kindness embroiled in such scandal? What does this say about the Hollywood dream? It's not just about what goes in front of the camera, it's what happens behind it. Stick around, because things only get darker from here. Millie Vanilli, the greatest hoax in music history. Take a trip back with me to the era of the 80s and 90s when the airwaves were captured by flamboyant clothes, big hair, and dancing actions. It was about all that Millie Vanilli had: the look, the sound, the moves, everything. Chart-topping songs like Girl You Know It's True, sold-out concerts, and oh yeah, their fan base, huge. There's the rub: none of it was real. That's right, Millie Vanilli wasn't singing one note on their tracks. The ultimate fraud representing two performers, Rob Pilatus and Fab Morvan, had been lip-syncing their way to stardom, and when it was finally discovered that they had, well, you can imagine the fallout. It was an utter, complete collapse of everything they'd built. Lawsuits, they came fast and furious. The Grammys, stripped, public disgrace, yes, in spades. But let's not skim over the human toll. Rob Pilatus, half of the infamous duo, quite simply couldn't hack it under the burden of the sham. The pressure, the humiliation, the public outcry, all conglomerated and exploded. In 1998, Rob tragically passed away from an overdose, a sobering reminder that the pressures of fame can be as deadly as they are glamorous. Think about it, a musical hoax of such proportions that it ruined lives and careers in the blink of an eye. If Millie Vanilli were living in these viral times, would they have gotten away with it in the first place? Probably not, but that isn't the only shocking revelation. Read on, as what comes next will surely make you rethink just how much of Hollywood's glittery facade is actually real. If you thought mainstream Hollywood scandals were jaw-dropping, just wait until we step into the digital age, where every like, comment, and upload can lead to monumental downfall. YouTube was supposed to be a playground for creators, but for these influencers, it became the stage for their own self-destruction. Shane Dawson, the god of YouTube, falls. Once hailed as the king of YouTube, Shane Dawson had everything. He was that barrier-pushing, viral content-creating king who created an empire based on shock humor, conspiracy theories, and over-the-top personas. His base, huge. His influence, unmatched. As the old adage goes, the higher you rise, the harder you fall. Boy, did he fall. In June 2020, a load of old videos surfaced, video that really should have just stayed dead and buried. We're talking racist jokes, inappropriate comments, and a whole load more content that at one point or another was just written off as edgy or just comedy. The thing is, times changed, and what was once acceptable was now simply unforgivable. Celebrities like Jaden Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith publicly denounced him, while brands axed him in about 2 seconds. Even YouTube joined in, demonetizing his channel, a move that reached directly for the heart of the empire. The fall of Shane Dawson didn't have a slow burn. Rather, it was like a wildfire that left nothing in its wake. What really makes his fall interesting is the fact that he never really recovered. While there were periodic reappearing acts, his career just never seemed to gain the momentum it once held. For a person practically made of YouTube royalty, his kingdom crumbled down far faster than one could have ever foreseen. But here's the kicker. The scandal didn't just hit Shane. It sent shockwaves throughout the entire YouTube community, making each and every content creator rethink their past and the skeletons buried in their video archives. What does the future hold for Shane Dawson? Will he rise from the ashes, or is this the end? Well, stick around, folks, because in this digital age, it never forgets. Tati, Westbrook, and James Charles. And now, we enter what is probably one of the most messy and explosive scandals that have ever hit YouTube, Tati Westbrook versus James Charles. It was that kind of public fallout that practically broke the internet. If there is anything the beauty community is known for, that has to be drama. This feud, though, next level. Tati, at one point a mentor to a young James Charles, posted her now infamous Bye Sister video, where she accused him of betrayal, manipulation, and inappropriate behavior. The internet went wild. James Charles, one of YouTube's biggest stars, lost millions of subscribers overnight, quite literally overnight. It was like watching a real-time train wreck. Fans, fellow creators, the media, you name it, were glued to the saga. But here's where things take a turn. Both parties later tried to make amends. Tati came forward with new accusations, James offered explanations, and the public scratched their heads. Who told the truth? Who lied? And more importantly, could either of them ever recover from this massive fallout? While they both have moved on with their careers, the scandal definitely left an indelible mark upon YouTube's beauty community. It peeled back a really ugly underbelly of influencer culture and forced us all to consider this. In a world driven by views, likes, and beauty, how real is anything? Hollywood might dazzle with its endless opportunities and towering successes. But as we've seen today, one misstep can send it all crashing down. From musicians to comedians, authors to influencers, no one is invincible when scandal strikes. Some make a comeback, while others fade into the shadows, leaving us all in shock. What new bombshells are lurking in the hidden corners of Tinseltown? Stay tuned for more exclusive revelations and unseen footage, because the Hollywood drama is far from over. Like, comment, and subscribe, because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.